Let's start with the new name up at the top, or close to the top, I should say. Jacob Trouba joins your list. Frank, what's the latest there, and what's the word on the Rangers moving the guy who is number 8 on your list?
Well, the New York Rangers are just weighing all their options. They love what Jacob Trouba brings to their team, but they're also aggressive as aggressive as any team in the league in trying to improve. Chris Drury's made that clear since he took over. And when you look at Trouba, I think what a lot of people would be surprised to see is because there's only 2 years left on his deal, there's actually positive trade equity. If you're a team that's been outside of the playoff picture for the last number of years, Trouba is one of those guys that can help get you in. So yeah, $8 million a year. It's not pretty in terms of the cap hit, but a lot of those teams have cap space, and it's not really a huge issue. The big part of it is Trouba a guy that interests them? I think there's been enough trade interest so far, and the Rangers are gaining some added flexibility. He has a 15-team no trade clause. He drops down from full no trade to 15 starting on Monday. They want to try and make some moves. It's not a definite that Trouba gets moved, but he's certainly one guy whose name has come up in multiple conversations. Capo Caco is still there as a potential to be moved as well. But Trouba has certainly garnered some interest. Is a team like Detroit? We've seen them move money around. He's a Michigan native. Does that make sense?
I'm just going to connect everyone to Utah. That's going to be my play with all of this. So Utah for Trouba is my guess. Down at number 10 on your list, very fitting, you have top 10 picks and a handful of teams who could be looking to move them. Ottawa, New Jersey, Columbus in there as well. That was actually going to be one of our Ask TFO questions. So someone was throwing it in the chat about Columbus at 4. But out of those 3, is there one that's more likely than the other to move?
Ottawa, Columbus. Did you say New Jersey?
Yeah, you have New Jersey on there.
Yeah, New Jersey, I think is... That's a fascinating one, because the Devils, when you look at where they're heading, it's not that they don't need the number 10 overall pick. Of course, you can use that player to assimilate to your team 2-3 years from now, but this is a core that's ready to win, I think. And when you look at the young defensemen that they have coming, Nemitz, Hughes, they just added Seamus Casey from college, plus a healthy Dougie Hamilton. Like, you've got a core there, but you need more help. I think you certainly need some more veteran presence. That's a given. But what can they do with that 10 overall pick now that can help them in the here and now with the right? I'm not saying go out and get a 32-year-old, but is there a 25-year-old, a Marty Necas, for instance, and league sources, as I reported yesterday, indicated that the Devils could potentially part with that number 10 overall pick in a deal for Marty Necas. That's something that maybe not roster-wise makes a lot of sense for me, but when you think about like age range and where he's at, 71-point season under his belt, like that's another guy that you go, oh, that's really interesting.
Buffalo at 11 in Necas. They need
also
scoring.
A possibility. Like, again, it's go time. You can't win a round if you're the New York Rangers or New Jersey Devils. Take a step back and then you're not in the mix. You got to get back there.
And of course, Utah, a team to keep an eye on there.
God.
Last name I wanted to throw your way, obviously at the top, Mitch Marner. Brad Tree Living spoke yesterday. Did you take anything substantial from those Tree Living quotes when it comes to how this Marner process could be playing out?
Nothing at all.
Or is that smoke?
I'd say it's not even smoke. It's like, it's almost bordering on false alarm is what we're talking about. Because here's the situation, and I explained this in depth today, as you mentioned on the rundown with Jason Greger. It is what they're saying, all the right things, which is there is no reason to get into a battle with Mitch Marner and his full no trade clause until you have something to get into a battle for. You need someone to step up and show real interest and also be willing to pay a price that you believe is commensurate to the value that you think Mitch Marner brings to your team. That's why it's not an easy transaction, but I can guarantee you 100% that this week here in Vegas and for the last couple weeks, the Toronto Maple Leafs have been engaging in discussions and talks with teams. Are you interested in Marner? What would it look like? Then, if and only if someone steps up and gets to that point where you think that you can make a deal, hopefully you get multiple on the table so that you can then go back to the Marner camp and begin to wrestle with them. There's nothing to talk about until then. There's no reason to say anything publicly otherwise. There's no reason to say anything to the Marner camp otherwise. You wait, you hold your cards, and then you go play them should you decide to see a hand that fits for you.
What's the saying? You don't let the tail wag the dog or something like that?
Well,
something like that.
That's one potentiality, but here's the thing, and this should be no surprise to any Maple Leafs fans just from a pure asset management perspective. If you are not re-signing Mitch Marner, you have to do something this summer because you're not letting him walk for free, a player of that magnitude next summer.
Mm-hmm.
This is not rocket science, and it's not a surprise.
No, not at all. All right, there you go. That is a wrap on this week's edition of Icebreakers and the latest trade targets.
What's up, hockey fans? If you enjoyed that video, then you need to be hitting the subscribe button right here at Daily Faceoff. Exclusive interviews and analysis from our hockey insider Frank Saravalli, fantasy updates from Brock Sagan, and a daily live show at noon Eastern, Monday through Friday. You don't want to miss any of the fantastic content, so hit that subscribe button.